That was the reaction I did about 2 minutes ago, by the way, folks. Welcome on into the Rockies Now podcast for a special late night emergency podcast. To the Rockies Now podcast edition. I'm your host, Steven, along with Adam. Tom is not here this evening. He is getting some rest. He's doing fine. It's just we're recording again at midnight Mountain Time. It's 1 a.m. his time, so we're not gonna wake him up, even though it would be fun to do that just for, but we're not going to be mean to Tom tonight. We've had a busy day here in Rockies Nation, and it's been a shocker. That's putting it lightly. So I'm working today, and of course we're in our group chat, and we were talking about, Zach Veen a little bit, and talking about Shane McClanahan, who got injured this morning in his start for the Rays in his final start, and we were just kind of talking about that briefly. And anyways, a couple hours later, I looked down at my phone and I see a text message saying that that Nolan Jones got traded. I'm like, this is a joke. This is not real. We didn't trade Nolan Jones. I was like, this is, come on. And sure enough, I look at my X feed, and and I see the tweet from Jeff Passan, and the Rockies trade Nolan Jones to the Cleveland Guardians for Tyler Freeman. And again, it caught me off guard because I'm like, this is not real. That's got to be a bot Jeff Passan tweet, because they're out there. But no, it happened, and again, I'm still shocked, man. I'm still like, what just happened? Like, and I feel like every Rockies fan is like that tonight, heading into tomorrow and heading into the regular season. Like, what just happened? And since tonight's not going to be a super long one, but hey, if you have any comments, questions, just let us know here at Rockies Now here on the podcast. Again, we're not expecting a whole lot of people to come in here because, again, it's pretty late, and I know everyone has busy Sunday plans. But if you're watching this on Sunday or Monday when you're going to work, let us know how you feel about this trade. But Adam, for me, I'm not going to go out and say this is a bad or a good trade. I'm just perplexed. I'm perplexed right now. Like, why did we trade for him in the first place? I will answer that question, I guess, right now. So it goes back to the offseason of 2022, right? I mean, the Rockies had no outfield depth. Sean Bouchard had a nice year, but the Rockies had just traded Sam Hilliard to the Atlanta Braves. Doyle wasn't even on the radar. So really it was, I'm trying to remember, Connor Joe was our outfielder, but then we traded him to Pittsburgh. So really the Rockies had no really good outfielders at that spot. And so they were like, hey, we need some more depth or some competition in the outfield. And so they traded for Nolan Jones. And at first, people did not like that trade because we traded
Juan
Brito, who was a very high touted prospect for the Rockies. I mean, he was right up there with Amador, if not more so. Now, Brito, I think, will be maybe a little bit lower ceiling than Amador than I think some people might think. Now, Brito's still going to be a very good player, don't get me wrong, but that was very shocking. And I remember a lot of people thought that Nolan Jones was Sam Hilliard 2.0. Maybe a little bit more power, maybe a little bit more ceiling, but people did not like that trade. And then all of a sudden we see Nolan Jones have a big year in 2023, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, we found our new left fielder. Now, originally, if you remember, Nolan Jones was not on the opening day roster in 23. It was Jurickson Profar, because originally the Rockies were going to go with Sean Bouchard as their left fielder, but he got injured that spring. I think he tore his shoulder in the outfield during one spring training game. And so it's like, okay, now we got to go outside and get Jurickson Profar, which was not the greatest signing. And so then we went to Nolan Jones, and it worked. Last year, we saw a down year for Nolan. I mean, he was arguably one of, if not the worst player on the team. But you do look at his defense. His defense was still pretty good. You look at his arm, one of the best arms in the league, right? And you do not want to run on Nolan Jones. And we saw that multiple times in both years. And now heading into the season, there were question marks. Is Nolan Jones going to have a bounce back year? And while he didn't have a good spring, we saw signs of him improving his bat speed, improving his discipline at the plate. But he still struck out. And I mean, it happens to every single hitter. And then boom, here we are. Nolan is going back to Cleveland, and we get Tyler Freeman. And so now the question is, okay, well, what are you doing with Hilliard and Martini now? Because Freeman can play the outfield. But I will say this though, and again, I'm going to share everything before I hand it off to you here. But I think predicting just based off of what happened, and I agree with you what you said in the group chat. I think this is because of Estrada, because the Rockies got impatient, they got scared, and they're like, okay, now we need to make a trade here. Let's go trade Nolan Jones for a guy that has a 223 batting average in his career, which doesn't really stand out much, right? And this is a guy
Not at all.
and this is in Cleveland. I know he's going to hit a little bit better at Coors Field, but off the tongue, it just does not sound good if you're a Rockies fan. And right now, I don't feel very well about this trade. We could be wrong about this, like we were with Nolan Jones in 23. But I mean, I will say I do. There is going to be a way where I do kind of say, okay, I get why you made this trade, and that the only way for me to feel like that is if they tomorrow announce that Zach Veen is going to be the starting left fielder. Then I'm like, okay, now it kind of makes sense. But still, you traded Nolan Jones for, I hate saying this, but for absolutely nothing. And Nolan Jones is going to have, I think, going to have a good year, and because we've been predicting it since the end of last year. I mean, on our social medias, we've been putting out comeback player of the year. I would not be surprised if he does that. We're rooting for Nolan, obviously. I mean, I don't want to see Nolan not do well, but will we see another season like 2024 from Nolan? I don't think we will, but I could be wrong. But I am scratching my head a little bit. It's just like, okay, well, if you're going to trade for Freeman, you have to get rid of either both or all of Hilliard, Bouchard, and Martini, and either maybe keep Martini or Hilliard or Bouchard, but you cannot put Zach Veen in AAA. I'm sorry, you cannot. You're making this move. You have to start Zach Veen in left field no matter what. You can't make any more excuses. Like, I'm tired of this, Adam. I'm like tired of like the Rockies making these moves. And listen, I was talking about this today, and I was frustrated at work. I was really frustrated because I'm a Rockies lover. I, for the most part, never speak negatively about the Rockies. Maybe I should speak a little bit more negatively about them, but I love my team. But today it was just like, what? Like,
what are we doing?
Yeah,
what are we doing?
So I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, the way I found out about this trade was somebody texted me. They're like, the Rockies are already giving up on Nolan Jones, and I was like, maybe they just announced that he's going to be on the bench or something, or something. And I look up and see that they've traded him back to Cleveland, and my first thought was, okay, Cleveland is a pitching factory, so the only way this is going to make sense for me is if we're trading him for a pitcher, because obviously we need help with the pitching rotation, right? We only have a 4-man rotation allegedly. So I was like, okay, so who did we get? Which arm in that organization did we get? Nope, we got Tyler Freeman. And when you look at Tyler Freeman's numbers, they're very underwhelming. He is only 25 years old. Okay, so that there is that, but I think Nolan is right around that age, 27, 26.
Yeah, 26, 27.
Okay, so the only way this would have made sense to me is if they would have traded him for a pitcher. Mm-hmm. And if, like you said, if they bring up Zach Veen and they say, this is our left fielder, okay, cool.
Makes a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going with Veen, you're going with Beck. I can live with that. What I can't live with is the return. But what I can say about the return is that it sort of makes sense because Nolan has had issues staying healthy lately, and he hasn't really found his swing, from 2023. He just hasn't been that guy, unfortunately. And as much as I believed in him, the Rockies could come out on top in this trade if Nolan Jones does not stay healthy.
Well,
You know what I
that's the
mean?
thing. Maybe they saw something in there that they were like, "Hey, we do not like this."
Yeah.
While he looks better in spring training, it's still spring training.
Hmm.
Pitchers are pitching up to him, and that's one thing that Nolan has struggled with ever since he came here. Struggling, he's struggled to find contact up in the zone, and guys that could do that. Cargo, he knew how to hit pitches up in the zone, all around the strike zone. Wherever you threw it to Cargo, Cargo could hit it. Nolan Jones, I'm not saying he's Sam Hood, he's not, but uh, it's again, maybe the Rockies see something there that we're not seeing. Obviously, we're not in the Rockies front office, and I do think that some people are overacting a little bit because, again, you go back to 2022 when he came over here from Cleveland. Nolan was not supposed to be our starting left fielder. This was simply a depth move, not like, oh my goodness, Nolan Jones is going to be our starting left fielder. And I will say that I remember when Connor Joe was traded to Pittsburgh, people were mad
I
because
mean, that
he was a fan favorite here. And
he
it's like,
was
oh,
he was never good. He was
he was
never good.
he was not a part of the future. And,
He
and
was,
where
yeah,
Nolan, where Nolan, you could see, okay, maybe the Rockies do have a future around him,
yeah.
especially after 2023, where this year is just like, ooh. And I will say the Rockies, I mean, I know you can say whatever you want about the team and the roster. The Rockies did win, what was it, one or two more games than they did in 23 and they didn't have a good Nolan Jones. I'm not saying that, we're going to be fine without Nolan, but we're still like, this is midnight. I just got off of work like 30 minutes ago. So this is just in my brain. While I was closing the store, I was just like thinking about this in my mind. But the scene from Moneyball where they're trading Carlos Pena came up in my mind. If you remember that scene, if you're a baseball fan, if you love that movie, if you know that movie, you'll remember. Like the manager was like, "You are outside of your mind.
What are you doing?
Yeah, you're trading our best player." Like in some ways, Nolan Jones was arguably, even coming into this year, was one of, if not our best player. If you think about it, going off of, but really, I think it's Doyle. Doyle is our best player in my mind, next to Tovar. But
There's
yeah,
an argument. There's an argument for
I mean,
Jones
you could go
as far
both
as
ways.
talent.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. You could go both ways. But it,
But
it it reminded me of that scene. It's just like, well, maybe the Rockies know something. Like maybe Bill Schmidt knows something. I mean, Bill Schmidt did used to work for Cleveland in their system, so maybe he knows the routine of these players. I have no idea.
I think the thing that is most upsetting for Rockies fans, including myself, is the return. So I've talked to some Cleveland fans, and it seems like they like him. They think that he could be good if he's given regular playing time. So we'll see.
Yeah.
His Baseball Savant page, I posted that on my story. Offensively is just nothing to write home about. His barrel percentage, exit velocity, everything is under the 30th percentile. But he does have a whiff percentage and a K percentage in the 93rd percentile. So he does make contact. But again, we've talked about this before. The league doesn't necessarily value guys who just make contact anymore, right? You want guys who can slug a little bit.
Yeah.
So I do like his versatility. If somebody else goes down, he can play the outfield. He can play the infield. Obviously, for this season, this kind of puts a dent in my playoff prediction because Nolan Jones was going to be a monster part of the Rockies lineup, right? For that to happen. So when you look at the Rockies on paper now, the middle of the order seems a little
It's weak. A little weak.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of the middle of the order unless Chris Bryant has some sort of resurgence, because the Rockies, no matter if Zach Bean makes the team or not, he's not going to hit in the middle of the order. You know what I mean? That's going to be McMahon, Bryant, some semblance of that. But I will say again, the trade only makes sense if Zach Bean is our left fielder. Cool. Zach Bean's getting his chance. Okay, you're dedicated to Jordan Beck and Zach Bean on the corners. I can live with that.
Yeah,
I can live with that. And then you get Martini. One of those guys is going to come off the bench. Bouchard, Hilliard, or Martini. And good luck deciding that because I think they all three have a pretty good argument. Martini's having a really good spring offensively. I could see Martini being one of those guys that comes in and just gets really hot, stupid hot for the Rockies for a couple weeks at a time. Sometimes he could be a good pinch hitter.
Mhm.
He's a guy that would inject some energy into the team as well. He could be like this year's Jake Cave, but with a little bit more pop.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, the Tyler Freeman thing, though, I think they like his speed, and we've talked
he
about.
has good speed.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. The Rockies do need to build their teams more based around speed, but Nolan Jones ain't slow. You know what I mean? So, and Nolan Jones, his defensive run value, I know he didn't play very much last year. His arm value is in the 72nd percentile, and his arm strength is obviously at the top of the league. Sprint speed is, I think, around 70, something like that. His range, just based on last year, was in the negatives. So, but I think that's just a small sample size. Maybe the Rockies see some sort of decline defensively that they're concerned about. I mean, obviously the arm strength works well for him, but I think maybe, and it was Tom talking about this in the chat earlier, I think maybe they have plans or designs on him playing first base in Cleveland. So maybe both parties are concerned long term, right, about his body and being able to stay healthy. I do wish Nolan Jones the best. I really, really like him. I love the energy he brings to the ballpark. He's pretty infectious. I know every teammate that he had here in Colorado just loved him. And I think the Rockies clubhouse will take a little bit of a hit on this. But we also have to be open-minded. It is before the season even starts. Tyler Freeman, it's not his fault he got traded here. You know what I mean? So I saw somebody say, "Oh, I'm going to boo him every chance I get." It's like, why? He's our guy now. We want him to be. We want him to succeed. We want him to be good.
Yeah.
Because there is a chance, and I'm probably being overly optimistic, but there's a chance that the Rockies could win this trade.
Yeah.
Tyler Freeman obviously will have to improve on this OPS plus of 80 for his career.
Yeah.
His OPS is 626. We're going to need to see that at least 100 points higher this year. A little bit more pop would be good. He only has 11 career home runs. So, obviously that I think 7 home runs is his career high. So I think we'd like to see maybe 10 to 12 this year if he's going to get regular playing time. Something like that would be realistic for him. And then he did steal 11 bags last year in 118 games. That was 330 at bats. So maybe we can get that number up to 20, 25 stolen bases in Colorado. But this is a guy in a 74th percentile, I think, in speed on Baseball Savant. So he can run a little bit. And if if he hits the ball in the gap at Coors Field, we might be seeing a lot of doubles and triples out of him. But the question becomes, and I don't think he's not a switch hitter, right? So we've been seeing all this talk like, oh, well, maybe him and Farmer will switch off. And it's like, well, that would make sense, but they're both right-handed hitters. So I'm not sure how that would actually work. I think the Rockies made a little bit of a panic move, in my opinion. I think this is something that you do if you're a contending team, right? Okay, we don't have our second baseman for 8 weeks. We're expected to make the playoffs. We have a huge gap on our roster. Why don't we go address that real quick?
A Dodgers-like move,
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, it also does make sense. Thairo Estrada is only here for 1 year. You're going to have Tyler Freeman here under team control, probably, I'm guessing, for another 2 or 3 years without even looking.
Yeah.
So there's a component to that. I obviously I don't think the Rockies saw Thairo Estrada as some sort of long-term answer at second base. He's just a bridge for Amador, right? And so Freeman is going to have the opportunity to prove himself here in Colorado. It looks like he's going to be the second baseman. He's going to be able to play at other positions. And if somebody goes down in the outfield, he'll probably be the guy that gets that playing time, Yeah. So I think overall we have to, we're upset because we like Nolan. We're upset because the trade really doesn't make all that much sense to us unless, like you said, the Rockies know something that we don't know or see something that we don't see in Nolan. But we have to be a little bit optimistic about what Tyler Freeman's going to be able to do with the Rockies.
And maybe he needs a change of scenery. I don't know. Like, I
Maybe.
really don't know. But the thing again that concerns me is injuries. Freeman has had injuries. He has not played a full year. Even last year, only played like 118 games. That's what I'm concerned about. Now, again, he's young, 25 years of age, like you mentioned. Um, I don't know. I'm intrigued, but again, I'm kind of perplexed still. Like I'm like, okay, the only way, like we've been saying tonight, is just make sure. Like I don't want to see them saying, well, we're gonna have Zach Veen come up here in just a little bit. We're gonna have Nick Martini and Bouchard be our like corner outfielders. I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't make sense in my mind. But no, like Freeman, I think again, he could be a change of scenery. He could do something here. I mean, Nolan Jones wasn't. I mean, he was a top prospect for the Guardians and came to Coors Field, and he did well in 2023. But it wasn't like he was gonna break the bank with the Rockies or anything like that. I mean, he did not have a good spring training in 23. If you remember, that's why he started in AAA with Albuquerque. So yeah, I mean, again, like we said, maybe the Rockies know something that we don't. Maybe they see an injury in Nolan, like his back issues. He had, I think, two of them last year. Which we call over here at the Rockies Now podcast the Bryant disease. Because Brian, if you're a Rockies fan over the last couple of years, you know that Brian's had like 3 or 4 back injuries in the last like 2 years. So yeah, right now, I mean Freeman. Again, he's under team control, but it's just I don't know. Like, well, one thing for sure, you can't have Owen Miller and Kyle Farmer as well as Freeman on the roster. You can't do that. You got to have either Farmer or Miller down in AAA. It just you like your infield is going to be full. I mean, the outfield, and this is the nice thing. However, you're going to free up you freed up some outfield space, which is good because we've been talking about that a lot on the podcast, freeing up the outfield spots. Because again, there's guys in AAA that could not Zach Veen. I'm talking about, Yankees Fernandez, Sterling Thompson could be in that mix. Cole Carrick, who's going to
Benny
Montgomery, who's had a really good spring. There's a bunch of these guys, and talk about Robert Kalaz, who we talked about the other day in the podcast. I think he can move up very quickly. I mean, he's going to start in. I know it's going to be single A, but this guy could be up in the major leagues. What they're saying by 2027 or 28. So you're trying to in 2 to 3 years. So you're trying to free up space. Well, they already have Doyle, and I am intrigued because they have talked about maybe extending Doyle, but they have not talked about that yet. And it is kind of funny how a lot of people are. I'm not saying overreacting, but a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm not surprised by the Rockies trading Nolan Jones because we knew that was going to happen. Or then I saw some comments saying, "Oh, just wait till they trade Doyle and Tovar." Well,
this is a misnomer that Rockies fans continue to spew online. That is 100% not true at all.
Yeah, they know. I'm sorry, but they I agree with one person. Some of these people do not know a thing about baseball. They just
Story, LeMahieu, Arenado, all those guys here were here for at least 6 years. The Rockies did not trade them after 2 years. Like, let's stop with this nonsense that the Rockies trade all their players. It's just not true. It's not true.
And, I mean, they didn't trade Helton. They didn't trade. I mean, even though there was rumors about him getting traded in 07 to the Red Sox, Helton wanted to stay, and the Rockies were like, "Nope, we're still trading him." No, the Rockies were like, "We love you, Todd. We'll keep you around here." And look he's a Rockies Hall of Famer. Larry Walker, I know we traded him to St. Louis, but he spent so many years here, and the Rockies could have traded him. They could have traded, again, like you said, Nolan before that. They could have. I mean, 2019 we could have traded Nolan, or 2018, whatever. You remember that one time where there was rumors about us trading Nolan for Chris Bryant?
Yeah.
Like people remember that, and the Rockies were like, we're not doing that. And then a couple years later, they changed their mind. Well, they didn't trade them to the Cubs, but you get the idea.
Well, revisiting that trade, the Rockies lied to him.
Yeah,
they told him we're going to build around you, and then they only signed Daniel Murphy,
and that was it.
You can't, you can't say, "Yep, we're trying to win, we're going to build around you," and then sign nobody, because that's going to make anybody upset.
Then they realized it was too late, and that they weren't going to win around Nolan, so they traded him, and they freed up money, of course, and I think that was a part of the issue. Of course, you can talk about that later on, but it's just, Oh, yeah.
Should we talk about what the lineup's going to look like without Nolan Jones? Maybe just a little bit here.
Yeah,
because I'm looking at the middle of the order, and Chris Bryant is hitting fourth. according to Fangraphs, that can't happen.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
So they've got Doyle, McMahon, Tovar, fine. Bryant, Tolia, Beck, Veen, Freeman, Stallings. So it just looks so much less lethal without Nolan Jones. But also it gets Zach Veen into the lineup, right? According to Fangraphs.
Yeah.
Hopefully they are correct about this, because if you look at the lineup and it's Chris Bryant, Tolia, Beck, Veen, Freeman, Chris Bryant, Tolia, Beck, Freeman, and Martini and Stallings, it's like it's a little bit of a hard sell for Rockies fans, I think. But if you're dedicating everything to the corner with Beck and Veen, I'm okay with that. Let them play. I'm totally fine with that. And then if Freeman turns out to be a good player for the Rockies, so be it. He could be one of those guys that people love. Just like a little spark plug kind of player, like a Matt Suey from the 07 team.
Yeah.
Somebody like that, But we'll see.
Here's the thing. Freeman actually made the Cleveland postseason roster.
He did. He got hurt, but he made it. Yeah,
he made it. So it tells you something. I will tell you that the Cleveland offense is horrible. So that's why maybe Cleveland was like, "Hey, we want Nolan Jones back. We actually believe that maybe Tyler Freeman could be really good for you guys. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Maybe the Rockies were like, "Hey, we're looking for a second baseman. We need," and then Cleveland was like, "Hey, Rockies, I don't know. That's just something." But Mr. Vallejo says, was this a panic move due to the Estrada injury? I think there was several factors, but I think this was one of the factors. Because again, it sucks, because it's just like when Estrada got hurt, we were like, I think all of us, Adam, Tom, and I, we were like,
the bummer.
Oh no, don't do it, Dick. Well, of course, I don't think Dick was really behind any of this, but and it's funny because some Rockies fans think that Dick Monfort traded Nolan Jones. Like, people know he did not. Stop. Like, please stop. But and then Ty says, I think Veen was in the lineup either way, which is why I don't understand it. Well, exactly. Well, I will say this: a lot of people like were gonna have Veen in right field, which I have him in right field, and then you had Doyle and Jones. But this is something I haven't checked yet. Maybe again, I feel bad for not knowing this, but I want to say Zach Veen has had more right field starts in the minor leagues than left field. I might be wrong about that.
I'm pretty sure you're right about that. But Tom, we need Tom in these situations.
Tom, wake up.
Tom would know.
Tom, wake up. No, but yeah, I think it's right field. And so, I mean, he has. I will say, I think Zach Veen has played a little bit of left field, but reacting to this trade, just again, just giving off my reaction here at 12:30 in the morning Mountain Time. I just feel like,
everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Nice trade that we had yesterday. One of the best trades that we've had in Rockies history. No, but like I just feel like this is the sign that, hey, Zach Veen's our left fielder, because again, it was announced today that he won the Abby Greer Award for the Rockies MVP for spring training, which awesome. Congratulations to Zach Veen. Well deserved. And I don't know. I just feel like finally Bud Black is opening up to Zach Veen, because I feel like for so long, Bud Black was not a fan of the younger players, where now it's just like, actually, these guys are actually kind of good. And so
he doesn't have a choice. He doesn't have a choice. It's the direction the Rockies are going. So
yeah. So and it's the way it should be. The way it should be.
Yeah. It's an exciting time to be a Rockies fan, honestly, because of all the talent that's coming. I just don't think that trading Nolan Jones was necessary to bring that young talent into the fold. Because if forbid something happened to Michael Tolia, we would have had Nolan Jones on the roster and he could play first base. You know what I mean? So hopefully Tolia stays healthy. But you have versatility with Jones as well. Freeman isn't the only guy that is versatile in this trade. So that's something to keep in mind. But again, Freeman could come in here and just be like the best second baseman since LeMahieu, and we look like winners in the trade. You never know. Yeah. Maybe this guy just does deserve a chance to play every day. Maybe he did need a change of scenery. Maybe Coors Field is going to be the place where he can break out with how big the outfield is. I mean, you just never know with some of these trades sometimes. But I think with the season just coming up here in less than a week, Steven, I was probably emotional about the trade at first because I really, really like Nolan. I really believe in his talent. But after thinking about it for a little bit, we have to give it a chance. We can't just say, oh, well, Freeman's not going to be any good, and the Rockies are giving up on the season. I think the Rockies made this trade because they're not giving up on the season. They saw a hole on the roster after Estrada went down, and they went outside to try and address it.
I'm happy that they didn't go after Hampson. Bring back
Yeah, exactly. That's something the Rockies would have done in the past.
Yeah, like Jeff Bridich type of move. Yeah, but 2K says, why didn't we shed Hilliard? Well, I still think that there's still a possibility. I mean, there's a possibility that the Rockies either trade Hilliard or just absolutely
just outright him. Yeah,
exactly. I think it's coming. I think it's because, again, you look at the roster now, it's like at 35 players now, and 6 of them are non-roster invitees. Well, all of those guys are probably going to get their butts out. Sorry, I don't want to be mean to the non-roster invitees, but then you look at the 3 other players, right? And obviously one of them, Zach. Zach is going to make it. Well, I think Zach is going to, at least that's just based off of what I feel. I mean, again, why did the Rockies make this trade, right? So, but, to answer your question, 2K, I think the Rockies are going to shed one of those 3 bench outfielders of Bouchard, Hilliard, or Martini. If I had to pick somebody, I think it's going to be Bouchard.
It's not going to be. Yeah, it's not going to be Martini, dude. Not the way he's hitting.
Sorry, I'm not. I've said this many times. I'm not high on Bouchard. I know he's had good stretches at the end of the season, but he hasn't stayed healthy because he hasn't played a full year. And it's sad because if he could play a full year, I think Bouchard could be a very interesting piece. But defensively, Bouchard's not that great. I'm sorry, but then the speed is not that good. And he's getting up there in age, and he spent a lot of time in the minor leagues, if you remember. Like, he was spent a lot of time in AA and AAA, and he was kind of like one of those guys that was just waiting for his chance. But it was just, I just feel like he's not a part of the Rockies' future. I'm sorry, but he's not. So I think, even Hilliard, I would say Hilliard's not a long, term part of the team, but the Rockies do need Hilliard a little bit for his power. And again, he was clutch last year many times in late in games. And plus, too, I think he was drafted by the Rockies and he came back last year. The Rockies acquired him, I believe, off waivers from the Orioles, I think. And I think it's nice to have Sam back and just to have a presence that's been here before. And just be, I keep forgetting the wording of it, but I think Hilliard is nice to have him back. I like Hilliard. I think he could bring a little bit more to the table than Bouchard. That's just my opinion. And Hilliard had a good year last year.
He had a really good year last year.
Like 270, and he didn't strike out that much. He did strike out not that much, but
yeah, his OPS was somewhere around 8 something. I can't remember what the number was. It's 812 in 58 games. Yeah. But I would say, to answer that question, 2K, Sam Hilliard doesn't have the trade value, right, that Nolan Jones has. So if we called up Cleveland and said, hey, we'll give you Sam Hilliard for Freeman, they're going to hang up the phone immediately. That's not, it's not an equal value trade. Yeah. I think we got to give it a chance, guys. I think that's what we have to do because I don't think – and I was emotional about it too. Trust me, you guys probably saw my comment on the Rockies page, but what I said was not really emotional, but I said it would have made sense to trade him for a pitcher because the Rockies lack in that department. You're trading him to Cleveland. Cleveland is an arm factory typically, like the Oaklands, the Tampa Bays, the Athletics, whatever they're called in now. But I don't hate the trade. I just really don't understand the trade as much. And if you really don't believe in Kyle Farmer to this extent, why did you sign him in the first place?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if Thairo Estrada was going to go down and you knew you had to play Kyle Farmer, why even bring him here in the first place? His numbers speak for themselves. The signing didn't make sense. It wasn't exciting in the first place. Now, am I rooting for Kyle Farmer to just be an absolute revelation this year? Of course I am. But does that signing make sense now that we've seen that the Rockies will trade to put someone in front of him? Not really, right? So I think the roster construction makes sense from the perspective of the trade, sure. But Steven, what are we looking at here? Are we going to be looking at who's going to be on the team? Is Veen actually going to be on the team? And who's going to be that? And who's going to be the other outfit? Is it going to be Martini? It's going to be Martini, right? Because this is it's such a Rockies thing. Like a veteran guy, Bud Black loves his veterans. He's hitting the cover off the ball. What's his OPS? Like 1,089, I think.
Yeah, almost hitting like 400 in spring training.
And Bouchard, I don't know if he's out of options. I really don't know, but he's also hitting the cover off the ball.
Yeah.
His OPS is 1,089, and Martini's is 1,067.
I could be wrong. Maybe the Rockies will get instead of getting rid of Bouchard, maybe they'll get rid of Hilliard. I don't know, just based off of spring training. But I don't know. We'll see. But
it would make sense because Martini's a left-handed hitter and Bouchard's a right-handed hitter. You don't want two left-handed guys coming off the bench. At least that's in the way that Bud Black operates. Yeah. You would think that they wouldn't want to do that, right?
Yeah. And I do like Ty's comment. All we can do is give it a chance and hope for the best. The trade is already happened. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just like this is business. And I do agree with Tom because Tom put it out in our social media comments that this is a part of the business. So, this is happening. I know it. Looking at it right now, and we're still. I know a lot of people are still emotional. It's easy to get caught up in your emotions, saying, "Oh, this is the worst trade." Is why did you do this? Why did you do that? And and I, like Johan, to answer your comment, Amador's not ready, and this is not a knock on your comment, Johan. We love Amador. We've been talking about it, and if you've watched our podcast, we feel like Amador is going to play this year. He needs more seasoning. And Freeman. He's not. I don't know. Well, maybe the Rockies are going to give him a chance to play. And again, I'm looking at Freeman's stats, and I know it's spring training, and we can talk about his stats all we want. Freeman's
hitting very well.
He's in 39 at bats this year in spring training, 12 hits, 2 home runs, and he's not a home run guy whatsoever. But he has 6 RBIs, a stolen base, 308 average, 413, and an OPS of 1.080. That's good. And so maybe maybe this is his turnaround year. Again, he's only 25, last year 24. So technically, I mean, you're like, that's a rookie type of age. So maybe the Rockies see something that, hey, we feel like this guy could hit at Coors Field. And I will say that the Rockies, they have had success with players like that. Well, they'll bring in guys that maybe didn't have good years on other teams, and then they have really good years with the Rockies. It's happened before, maybe not super often, but it's happened before. And then for
Tyler Colvin,
yeah. And I mean, he was a Cub for a long time, and came over here, had that nice year, and was in 2011, 2012. But Ty, about Beck out there, I think we're going to see Beck for sure. Beck is going to make the roster. He's not going to start in AAA. Now seeing it, Beck, again, this is based.
He's been good too. Yeah.
Today, I think he got a home run, or at least a couple knocks out there. He had a really good game.
6 bags this spring as well for Beck. So he's hit 4 home runs. His OPS is a little low, probably around league average at 730, but I mean, he's hitting for power, and we've talked about this before. He has 2020 potential. So
And for those that think, oh well, we gave up a good prospect for Nolan, like Luck says, and Burrito was a good prospect, but we already have a good second base prospect in Amador, so you have depth there, so you can get one of those guys. And it is funny to see a lot of Cleveland fans out there that are kind of mixed on this as well. Like some people, some people really like Freeman. It's like, why did we make this trade to get Nolan Jones back? And I saw one thing. I think it was a Cleveland Guardians fan page on Instagram who we follow. I love their fan page, but one of the things that they mentioned is that the Guardians are looking for a right fielder, and they got their right fielder Nolan Jones because you already got Stephen Kwan in left field.
Lane Thomas
in center. I mean, that's a decent outfield, but right field, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I know, listen, Quan is really good, but you have to imagine. And again, the Rockies have made mistakes before too, but I agree with Adam here. And I like we've been saying it, give Freeman a chance. Just give him a chance, and then we can react to the trade after. Because we're not going to say, oh, this is a horrible trade. And it's just like on paper, it might look bad. But again, like you just look back at other trades. I mean, and in years past, it might not be the Rockies, but you look at other trades in the past on any other MLB team where at first it looks, oh, this is a bad trade. And then actually, you know what? Actually, it was actually a really good trade. Like hats off.
Like the Matt Holiday trade to Oakland when we got Carlos Gonzalez, and everyone was like, "Who's Carlos Gonzalez?"
Or Houston Street. Who's this guy? Well, of course he had his good years in like
he was more of a reputable player, but Carlos Gonzalez, everyone was like, "Who?"
Yeah, I mean Arizona got
rid of him.
Arizona got rid of him.
Yeah,
and people thought, oh, Carlos Gonzalez, he's not going to have any.
DJ LeMahieu trade with the Cubs.
Nobody thought he was going to be good.
Yeah, and he was a great Rocky.
Come to Colorado, and guess what? And listen, maybe the Rockies see a little bit of DJ LeMahieu and Tyler Freeman. I don't know. We're comparing players here at 2:40, like whatever time it is in the morning. So,
hey, shout out to everyone who's on with us as well, man. Thank you guys. We love you guys.
Yeah, awesome. Again, I think I think we've had more people in here than the previous episodes. So
I believe. I agree.
This is good. We need to start doing shows at this time more often, Sean. I mean, we got to do this more often, Adam. And I'm sorry, Tom, but you have to miss this. But no, but
we love you. We love you too, Tom.
We love you, Tom. Get some sleep. But yeah. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm intrigued by it. Again, we're gonna wake up to having new reactions tomorrow as we usually do. But man, I'm so shocked. But again, my reaction, maybe not the greatest of trade, but still, let's give Freeman a chance. And again, he's had a decent spring, and he's only 25 years old. It's not like he's 27, 28 years old. It's just like, then I would be like much more upset and like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, if we were trading it, like you said, for Garrett Hampson, I would have been absolutely ticked,
Or Nicky Lopez? No.
Oh, dude, no.
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 Yeah, so.
Or Ryan Bliss for the Mariners. Like there's some worse guys we could have tried to trade for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the Rockies did their due diligence here. They have a good relationship with Cleveland.
Yeah.
And I think we hope, right, that it's a trade that works out for both teams. But let me tell you something. I'm still drinking the Kool-Aid, boys. I'm still drinking it because I can't go back on my prediction, okay? So some way, somehow, by some miracle, I'm still going to pick the Rockies to make the playoffs because guess what, fellas? We're in first place right now. Okay, it's
technically the Dodgers are because they're 2-0, but
well, whatever. But eternal hope, right? Hope springs eternal for Rockies fans right now. And why not? Why not?
Why not? Yeah. I mean,
they've got a ton of young talent, and if Freeman turns out to be a good player for us, and Veen does what we think he's going to do, and Beck keeps playing the way he is,
yeah,
the lineup becomes pretty dangerous pretty quickly.
Yeah, here's the thing. Hats off to the Rockies for making the right decision with Dollander. And I know we're getting late here, and we'll wrap up here in just a second. But hats off to the Rockies for not rushing Dollander. That's a good move. And that's why I'm thinking maybe the Rockies do know what they're doing, even though people think, oh, Dick Monfort's the worst owner, or Bill Schmidt had no idea what he's doing. No, they gave up Nolan Jones, who was finished 4th in Rookie of the Year voting. And again, I know a lot of people are hurting him here for Nolan. I am too. Adam and I are too.
We love Nolan. We love Nolan.
I mean, again, we had Nolan being a comeback player of the year this year, but we also are like, you know what? Let's give Rockies part of their due for right now. Let's see what Freeman has.
He's our guy. He's our guy, fellas. We got to root for him.
Yeah. I love Ty comments here. Veen will take us to at least the NLDS 2025 season.
Let's go. Right Let's go. Yeah, love it, boys.
Let's go. But yeah, I mean, and plus, Adam, you got a lot of love from the Rockies now fans here, like on Instagram for the predictions post, and then we got it in the episode. So people love you, Adam. So
I appreciate it. All the love to the Rockies fans. And dude, it's baseball season. The Avs are gonna win the cup.
Yeah.
The Nuggets are gonna make some noise in the playoffs, and then you got the Rockies playing the best sport in the entire world.
Yeah.
I don't know
about the Nuggets though. They're off.
Okay, well, we're being positive right now. We're being positive.
Okay, fine.
Hey, and I don't know if we need to wrap up, buddy, because you see how many people are tuned in right now. Maybe we did keep this party going a little bit. But yeah, man, there's no reason for us on March 23rd to be negative about the Rockies because nothing's happened yet.
Or say the season's over with.
Yeah, dude. Nobody thought the Royals or the Tigers were going to make the playoffs last year. Nobody thought that. No. Okay. And then Tarek Skubal came out of nowhere and was the best pitcher in the league, arguably, for most of the year. Why can't Chase Dolander come in and be, that a big part of the rotation for the Rockies?
Yeah.
Why can't Peralta and Halverson and Vodnik and those guys be lockdown arms in the bullpen? I know Tyler Kinley, I have my reservations about him. But those three guys, why not?
Yeah.
Why not, dude? And like Tyler Freeman, welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, like the worst thing that you want to do as a fan is just boo the guy, and then it hurts his confidence. You want to welcome him because that's what I mean. It hurts a player, but like Rockies fans, be nice. Like, don't be jerks. That's just what I have to say. And I'm not trying to shout anybody specific out on Instagram or whatever, but just don't be jerks. Welcome the guy. I know we're hurting for Nolan. Listen, we're gonna root for Nolan. I don't care like if he's gonna be on the. I would cheer for Nolan, even if he
don't say it. Don't say it.
I'm not gonna say the Dodgers. I'm not gonna say that.
Don't say Astros either, bro. Don't do it.
Can I say Diamondbacks? Well, yeah, I mean the Diamondbacks are, I don't know.
No, the Diamondbacks are a division rival. I would say we would cheer for him even if he was on like the Phillies or something like that.
I mean, he is a Philadelphia guy. I keep forgetting that.
That's true. That's true. That was a random pick by me, by the way.
Yeah. But yeah, well, I mean, we're still gonna root for him, and I hope you guys do too. And I'm rooting for Cleveland too. I like Cleveland, and I think they got a really good player. But again, like we've been talking about, and we're gonna wrap up here in just a second. But I think the Rockies, they saw something that maybe they were like, hey, we're willing to let go and let Nolan go. We're gonna have Zach Wiener, our left fielder, and so that's what I'm assuming what they're going for, and that's what it better be. And
and Steven too, as well. Maybe they're like, you know what? These other outfield guys are going to be ready later this year too. So there's going to be no room for Nolan. Maybe they think Fernandez is going to be ready too, or Montgomery or Carrig. I don't know what their plan is, but obviously there's enough depth here for them to be able to get rid of Nolan. Sorry for cutting you off. Go ahead.
No, it's good because again, you look at Nolan Jones, you look over the last 2 years he's been with us. You didn't hear on social media, oh, the Rockies are considering extending Nolan Jones. We never heard that. And see, that makes it a little bit better for me because if the Rockies were like, yeah, we're thinking about extending, like you never saw a video of Bud Black saying, yeah, we might extend Nolan or Bill Schmidt. No, they just said they like Nolan, but they never said anything about extending him. So thinking about that tonight when I was coming home from work, I felt a little bit better. It's like, okay, they didn't trick the fans thinking, oh, we're going to extend Nolan. I'm not saying that they treated Nolan like this, but I feel like Nolan was kind of like a placeholder for maybe Zach Bean. I don't know. That's just something off the top of my head. But I will say though that we absolutely love Nolan and we thank him for his time in Colorado because again, I'll never forget his home run, walk-off home run against the Padres. I remember I was on vacation and I remember watching that on my phone and I just was freaking out because that was so awesome. I mean, that was a
third tank, deck, dude.
Third deck. Yeah, I mean, it was right center field too. It wasn't like down the line. It was right center field, but and I will say this, again, last year, I know you can talk about last year, but I will say defensively last year, there was a couple times Nolan was not good. If you remember the series against the Diamondbacks, the opening series, he dropped that easy fly ball. I think he dropped like 2 times in that series. Then you went to the series against Chicago, the following series. Remember they got a inside the park home run in Wrigley, and that was off of Nolan Jones because Nolan Jones incorrectly fielded the ball. I'm not saying that's going to be the way Nolan will be. No, it's just it happens. But we have to say is good luck to Nolan. Have fun in Cleveland, but hey, let's welcome Freeman, man. I mean, I'm excited to see what this guy can do. Again, the Rockies see something here. And I feel like this was bound to happen anyways, because like you said, Fernandez is almost ready, I think, even though his spring hasn't been that great. But I think Fernandez, the Rockies really like Fernandez. And of course, we had Lewis from Blake Street Banner on a couple of weeks ago saying that according to Rockies front office people, they love Fernandez. That's one of their favorites. And so they're keeping an eye on Fernandez. And there's a lot of comps to Fernandez being a Yordan Alvarez type of player because he has that power. And we've seen it. It's just that defensively, though, Fernandez can't catch a ball in the
and the strikeouts too much.
But there's a lot to like in a lot of these outfielders. And the Rockies, they have to move them.
And there's another thing too about Jones. He strikes out a lot.
a ton.
Whereas Freeman is not going to do that.
Not
So
so much.
maybe we're going to
That's
see the value there from Freeman
well,
instead of having Jones.
that's the thing because the Rockies. I will say though, one thing I've been worried about because we've seen this the last week or so in spring training. The Rockies have struck out quite a bit, and I'm a little bit worried about that heading into the season. And they need guys that don't strike out because when you have teams that don't strike out as much, they're successful. You need to get on base, take your walks, don't strike out. And so do the Rockies need a guy like Tyler Freeman? Maybe this is their guy. And I'm not saying like he's going to be the team leader in home runs or whatever, but maybe this is like I like the word I like to use, a Swiss Army knife for this Rockies team that maybe no one saw coming. Why not? Maybe this guy could
Yeah.
be really good.
Yeah, the whiff percentage for Nolan Jones on fastballs the last 2 years has been close. He's averaged 30%.
Mm.
So and you did talk about that earlier where he struggles with the high fastball. A lot of guys struggle with the high fastball with guys throwing 110 miles an hour these days, you know what I mean? And that's something that Tom has pointed out about Zach Veen's game as well. He struggles a little bit with the high fastball, but that's a little bit more acceptable in his case because he's a young player still developing. Whereas Nolan's he's played a little bit more. You know what I mean? He should be able to make that sort of adjustment. And maybe the Rockies see some sort of decline in bat speed and ability to hit the fastball. Maybe that's what they're worried about. In today's game, you can't have that. So we'll see. I'm not rooting for Nolan to not succeed or anything like that, but he does strike out a lot, and his K percentage on sliders was 41.3%.
Bad, really bad. Yeah,
that was last year, of course, on a small sample size, but he strikes out a lot. I think his K percentage was somewhere around 30%. We can look it up, but I think there's some value here in Freeman over Jones in the lineup if Zach Veen is on the team.
They announced tomorrow that Zach Veen's starting in AAA. Then I'm going to have different thoughts.
They have to announce something tomorrow, right? Because they got to put out this fire that everyone's mad about on social media.
Well, the thing too is that like they only have 2 spring training games left in Arizona, and they have to fly out Monday, right?
Monday, I think, or Tuesday. Is it Monday?
Let's see. So tomorrow is Milwaukee, right? And then another game.
I think it's Tuesday.
Okay, yeah. So they fly out Tuesday evening, and then they play Milwaukee. They played Minnesota in Florida at their spring training facility in Florida in the 11 in the morning, and then they had the day off. So that's correct. So yeah, they have to fly out like Tuesday. So they got to make a decision, I would assume, because again, you got minor league players. You can't like bring them on the plane to Florida and then fly them back to Arizona for minor league camp.
No, you're going to see something very soon
tomorrow. I thought today would be the day that they would announce it. I really did. My phone was ready. It's just that when I was reading some of these texts, I was expecting to see the Zach Veen announcement. Then I see the Nolan Jones trade. So
there's just no way. There's just no way they make this trade and don't have Zach Veen on the roster. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
That's why I was like, Nolan. Zach Veen is our starting left fielder. It's got to be. I mean, it would be stupid if it would be like I don't know. I'm trying to find a good analogy here, but I can't. It was at the time almost at 1 a.m. here. But dude, we got like almost 60 people in here. That's awesome. Shout out to you guys.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean. I think it's pretty much set in stone. I would not be surprised if they have not told Zach Veen already, hey, secretly, maybe behind closed doors, hey, you're our starting left fielder. We're going to make this trade. And I feel bad a little bit for Doyle because, dude, Doyle and Nolan, they were close together. But no, like now it's going to be Doyle and Veen. I think Zach Veen, one thing I've really liked is Zach Veen has been able to hang around a lot of the guys this spring. And for him to be on the big league camp for this long, it tells you that this guy, he is right there, if not already on the opening day roster. And I think he's made it. I really do.
This guy is the juice, baby. He is the juice that the Rockies need. He is.
Yeah. And, Adam's been preaching about it since we did our, first podcast together. Yeah. I mean, it's right there and we're going to see it, man. And hey, listen, I mean, let's have a fun year. Again, we're going to have our season preview episode on Thursday. upcoming Thursday. So stay tuned for that. You're not going to want to miss it. But like, let's have a fun year, man. Let's see what the Rockies do. And I know you can talk all you want about the trade all year long or whatever, but you never know. I mean, maybe Freeman will work out. And I know all these baseball people and baseball media people are saying that this is a horrible trade. The Rockies have no idea what they're doing. Maybe they do. And plus, I will say again, a lot of some of these baseball people, they don't watch the Rockies. They don't follow the moves. They don't know the Rockies players. Like, and so that's just a little mini rant that I have. But let's have fun. Let's enjoy it. Let's see what Freeman does. Happy for Nolan. Best of luck to him. Hope he kills it in Cleveland. But let's see. Like our goal is to see if Freeman can really do well in Colorado. And I don't know. I have a suspicion that he will. I don't know why. I just have that sneaky suspicion that he'll do well in Colorado because they see something. So
upward and onward, boys. He's our guy. We're riding with him. Nolan Jones, as much as we like him, is no longer our concern. His health issues are no longer our concern. His K percentage is no longer our concern. Wondering if Nolan Jones is going to return to form is no longer our concern. That's Cleveland's thing now. So the Rockies, if they made this trade and didn't have these horses coming from the minor leagues in the outfield, I'd be like, what are we doing? But since we have Bean and Montgomery and Calaz and Fernandez and all these guys, Carrig, we have all these guys coming. It makes it a little bit easier to accept. Right. So,
yeah. Well, folks, I think that's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much. We have, I think, 61 people in here. That's the most. I think that's the second most we've ever had here on the podcast.
I love it, guys. That's the state of the passion of the Rockies fan base, dude. We're watching a podcast at 1 a.m.
Yeah, they love.
We're ready. Rockies. We're ready for baseball, boys.
Let's go. So again, make sure you stay tuned for next Thursday. We're gonna have a really fun episode. We're gonna kind of keep it short, fun and short. We're gonna do a little bit of a season preview, talk about your Rockies a little bit. Probably not do predictions because we already did that in a very long episode that we did a couple of weeks ago. But we're gonna have some fun on Thursday, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Just recently, we came out with our newest episode. We have who will make the opening day roster, and we talked about Zach Veen, and we talked a little bit about Chase Dollander, and a couple more players. I think we even talked about Amador a little bit. So make sure you listen to that. It's already out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And tonight's podcast, will be on Spotify and Apple Podcast and YouTube tomorrow. It's already going to be on YouTube once the stream ends. So make sure you watch that and send it to a friend who loves baseball or just loves the Rockies. And we're growing over here at Rockies Now. We appreciate you all. Again, 62 people in here in the stream at 1 a.m. here in the Colorado time. You guys are awesome. I mean, we're not just saying that lightly. We appreciate you because we know you guys have jobs, you have families. Some of you all have families. We appreciate you. You got busy lives. We love you guys so much.
They got that purple blood in their bloodstream, though. That's what's up.
Yeah. I without them, dude, I would be like a pancake right now. But no,
I feel good. I feel good, man. I feel good.
Yeah, they love you, man.
I love them. I love everybody. Let's go. Let's get this season going, man. I've been ready for months. Baseball's the off season too long.
Since the horrible World Series of the Yankees and Dodgers. Let's get that out.
Okay, well, we can't end the podcast with you talking about the team from LA.
Okay, let's shift gears here. We got Tyler Freeman, everybody. Let's go. We got Tyler
Freeman, baby, the next goat.
Let's go. Welcome to Colorado, Tyler Freeland. Did I say Kyle Freeland? I said Tyler.
I think you did. I think you need to go to bed. Yeah, you got to go to bed, man.
Yeah, we're gonna mess up on that so many times. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for listening tonight. On behalf of myself, Tom, and Adam, thank you for listening to this fun after dark edition of the Rockies Now podcast. As always, go Rockies.
Go Rockies, baby.